Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're caught in a situation where someone adamantly claims they stood firm, didn't snitch, right?
Hmm.
But then the overwhelming whispers from the street, from the community, they insist the opposite. How do you, as an outsider, someone trying to understand, how do you reconcile those two seemingly irreconcilable truths?
Yeah, it pulls you straight in,
It
doesn't it?
immediately pulls you into this really tense world where, personal integrity, the cold letter of the law, and these deeply ingrained community loyalties are just crashing into each other.
And what's truly fascinating, and maybe often overlooked, is why these two worlds, the legal system and these sort of community codes, why they speak such different languages. Especially about something like cooperation.
Right.
It's a clash that's rooted in very different ideas about trust, about authority, and that fundamental tension is precisely what makes the story we're diving into today so emblematic and really compelling.
That sets the stage perfectly for today's deep dive. We're looking into the story of Bleu DaVinci, who you might also know as Burima McKnight. He's famously associated with the notorious black mafia family, BMF.
Hmm.
And his experience gives us this unique lens, really, to explore the incredibly complex issue of cooperation with federal authorities. Now, for anyone who might not be familiar, BMF wasn't just, some street crew.
Oh no, far from it.
This was a massive, multi-state drug trafficking and money laundering organization. Huge scale. Founded by Demetrius Big Meech Flannery and Terry Southwest T. Flannery.
Oh.
And they were known, infamous maybe for this unbelievably lavish lifestyle.
Right over the top.
And critically very public, deeply interwoven connections to the hip-hop industry.
You've hit on a really crucial point there. This deep dive, it isn't just about one specific legal case or, a criminal enterprise as such. It's about that universal tension you mentioned.
Yeah.
The one between the legal frameworks, which are meticulously designed to dismantle organizations like BMF, and then these equally powerful, deeply ingrained community expectations. Loyalty, silence.
Unwritten rules.
Exactly. Unwavering loyalty and silence. And Bleu DaVinci's story, it just powerfully illustrates how these two worlds often collide. They speak entirely different languages, hold people to starkly different kinds of accountability.
So our mission today is to really try and understand the nuances here. The nuances of Da Vinci's alleged cooperation. We'll dissect the legal side, the ethical implications that ripple out, and examine the profound, the lasting impact this whole thing had on his career, and maybe most importantly, his reputation. His sort of hard-won reputation. We're sifting through our sources looking for those aha moments,
Yeah, the moments that clarify why these issues are so thorny, why there are no easy answers.
Exactly, and why they keep resonating so deeply within communities and, frankly, beyond. So let's establish the necessary background first. Who exactly is Bleu DaVinci in this whole story? As we said, his given name, Burima McKnight, and he had this really unique position within the BMF orbit.
Truly singular, yeah.
Our sources really emphasize this. He was the sole artist signed to BMF Entertainment. Think about that, the significance. Not just an associate, not just a friend.
But the only official musical talent tied to their cultural front, essentially.
Right.
And that's more than just a footnote. If we connect this to the bigger picture, BMF wasn't just a criminal thing. It was, like you said, a genuine cultural phenomenon, especially in hip-hop back in the early 2000s. Their influence wasn't only financial, it was symbolic. This cultural presence, it just massively magnifies the stakes of any alleged cooperation. It puts figures like Da Vinci under this intense, very public microscope, way more than most people would ever face.
Yeah.
They weren't just moving drugs, they were kind of shaping a lifestyle, an aesthetic. It permeated music, street culture.
And it was into this very visible, very high-stakes world that Da Vinci was, well, undeniably pulled. Our sources confirm his direct involvement led to pretty serious legal trouble.
Right.
In 2008, he was sentenced 5 years, 4 months in federal prison for his association with BMF activities. Now, this conviction, obviously, it isn't the end of the story.
No, it's more like the beginning of this part of it.
Exactly. It meticulously sets the stage for the cooperation allegations that would come to define how people saw him. You might be thinking, okay, so what's so special about this particular case? And here's where our deep dive really starts to show its complexity. It's not just about the conviction itself. It's about the intricate details of what happened during the investigation, during the prosecution that followed.
That's the real pivot point, isn't it?
Yeah.
The conviction, that's documented, public record, easy enough.
Right.
But the allegations of cooperation that came up after his sentencing, and crucially, the community's reaction, which was swift, often really visceral, That's what takes this from just a legal outcome into this profound social and ethical mess.
Yeah.
It brings us right to the core tension we need to unpack.
And that tension brings us squarely to the nuance of cooperation. This is where the public story, often fueled by rumor, by assumption, it really deviates from the more precise legal meaning.
Hugely.
While DaVinci absolutely faced intense snitch allegations, our sources are very clear on a critical distinction. It often gets lost, I think. He did not testify against specific individuals in court.
And that's massive, that single point. It immediately raises this fascinating and, frankly, critical question. How do we actually define cooperation? In a legal sense versus what it means, what it feels like in certain community contexts.
Totally a different thing.
Totally. The distinction between just providing information, maybe background, versus standing up in a courtroom and pointing a finger at individuals, it's absolutely crucial here. What DaVinci did do, according to our deep dive sources, was provide information that aided in the investigation and prosecution of BMF members.
Right. So what does that mean practically?
Well, it could be anything, right? Identifying stash houses, maybe explaining how money laundering schemes worked in general terms. Things that help the feds build their case without necessarily putting specific names on the witness stand.
So basically, it's not a simple yes or no question, did he cooperate? It's more about how he cooperated, what that actually involved.
It's precise.
And the legal term for this kind of help is substantial assistance. Our sources really paint it as a double-edged sword.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, on one side, there's a clear incentive. It can lead directly to getting your sentence reduced, which it did for DaVinci, that's a fact.
A tangible benefit.
But the other edge, it's incredibly sharp. It can, and it often does, just severely tarnish your reputation within your community, within your industry. It's a trade-off with this immense personal and professional cost.
And you see, the legal system uses that carrot, the reduced sentence, as a really powerful tool. They need that intelligence to take down complex criminal groups.
Sure, makes sense from their perspective.
But that legal carrot, it almost always comes with a very heavy social stick. Our sources clearly lay out that this type of cooperation, even when it avoids that direct public testimony, it's frequently seen as a betrayal of trust in certain communities. It's a profound conflict. It forces the person involved into this, well, unenviable spot.
And that conflict, that fundamental clash of worlds, that's really at the heart of DaVinci's situation and countless others like it. On one side, you've got the clear legal view, federal sentencing guidelines. They are designed to actively encourage substantial assistance. They offer sentence reductions for it.
The whole system is built that way.
Literally, it's built to incentivize people to give information that helps law enforcement break down these organizations. It's a key tool for them.
But what's truly intriguing here is how those legal system incentives often run directly counter to these deeply entrenched social structures, these sort of moral economies within specific communities.
Explain that a bit more. Moral economies.
Well, from a legal standpoint, the goal is pretty straightforward. Uphold the law, dismantle networks, ensure public safety, right?
Yeah.
But from a community perspective, especially in certain subcultures, it's all about upholding these unspoken codes. Loyalty, silence, collective resilience, maybe.
Things that aren't written down anywhere.
Exactly. And these codes aren't just arbitrary. They often come from historical experiences, maybe distrust of outside authorities, a reliance on the community itself for solidarity, for protection.
That's a critical distinction. It really is like being handed two completely different rule books and then being told, okay, live by both, and you'll be judged by both simultaneously. The ethical perspective here is that in communities where loyalty and silence are just paramount, any form of cooperation with authorities, any kind at all, can be seen as a violation of unspoken codes.
Even if it's legally okay or even encouraged.
Right. It might not be a legal crime, but it's seen as this profound social transgression. So the core ethical dilemma boils down to balancing an individual's legal rights, the very real benefit of a shorter sentence, against those deeply held community expectations of loyalty. It's truly an impossible tightrope walk for so many people.
And the weight of walking that tightrope is just immense.
Okay.
Because the consequences, they go way beyond the courtroom, way beyond the sentence length. It forces people to make this agonizing choice.
Yeah.
A choice between their personal freedom, which the legal system might grant them, and their standing within a community whose codes, for many people, aren't just rules. They're a core part of their identity, their survival. Imagine standing at that crossroads, that internal conflict.
Yeah.
It's a burden most of us can barely comprehend, but it shakes leaves in these profound ways.
Which, of course, brings us to the lasting shadow this casts, specifically on someone's career, their reputation. This isn't just about navigating legal stuff, is it?
Not even close.
It's about an entire career path, a livelihood, and how public opinion, especially within a specific cultural world like hip-hop, can literally shape someone's destiny. In the hip-hop industry, this is particularly potent. Our sources consistently underscore this. Being labeled a snitch, it's not just damaging.
It's often catastrophic. A death sentence for a career, almost.
Yeah, precisely because things like authenticity and street credibility are just paramount. They're the currency of the realm for an artist's brand, their connection with fans.
And this highlights a really critical point. The so what of these legal actions often extends so far beyond the courtroom walls, especially when reputation and trust are the absolute foundation of your professional life, your social standing.
Right.
In an industry like hip-hop, where the artist's persona is so tightly wound up with their perceived background, their allegiances, their street bona fides, the impact of a label like Snitch is just magnified exponentially. It's not just about maybe losing a record deal.
No.
It's about potentially losing the entire narrative that supports your art, your identity in that space.
And the ripple effect meant that, doors just closed. Future collaborations, getting studio time with big producers, even just getting features on other artists' tracks, those opportunities could just dry up.
Vanish.
Our sources illustrate how this perception directly impacted DaVinci's relationships within the industry. When that label sticks, it's not just a metaphor. It translates into real, concrete professional isolation. It's not about one album cycle, one song. It's about the long-term viability of a career that depends so heavily on mutual respect, on trust, on people being willing to associate with you.
And the impact isn't just limited to the industry itself, the artists and labels. Our deep dive shows that the public perception, the community response to DaVinci's cooperation, it was largely negative. That label, Snitch, it's described as one of the most stigmatizing in many communities.
Almost impossible to shake.
Almost. Once that label is applied, it becomes incredibly challenging, maybe impossible, to rehabilitate their image. Feels like a permanent mark, regardless of the legal specifics, regardless even of DaVinci's own denials or explanations. And this just powerfully demonstrates how those unwritten community codes, the ones forged by shared experience, by perceived betrayal, how they can be far more powerful in shaping someone's fate than any formal legal document.
So we've taken this deep dive into how legal rules, deeply ingrained community loyalty, and the relentless pressure of public perception can weave this incredibly complex, often tragic, web. We see it so vividly in Bleu DaVinci's case. It really is a powerful illustration of those two conflicting truths we started with, isn't it? The personal account versus the street's narrative.
Indeed. DaVinci's experience, it really serves as a poignant, almost textbook example of the immense complexities individuals face when they get caught right at that intersection: law, ethics, community loyalty. It underscores how actions that are legally permissible, maybe even incentivized by the system, can nonetheless have these profound, life-altering social consequences, reputational consequences. It forces us to confront the fundamentally different ways we define things like justice, loyalty, betrayal.
So the next time you hear about cooperation or snitching, maybe in the news, maybe in music, whatever the context, take a second. Think about the intricate nuances we talked about today. That distinction between providing information versus testifying, the legal system's goals and incentives, and those often uncompromising ethical codes within a community. What do you think ultimately holds more power? A formal legal document, its provisions, or that unwritten, deeply felt code of the street?
And maybe consider this too. In a world where information is increasingly power and narratives, true or not, can spread like wildfire online and offline, how much weight should we give to the official records, the documented facts, versus those powerful, often unwritten narratives that shape community trust and decide someone's reputation? It's a question that really challenges us to look far beyond the surface, beyond the headlines, and understand the deeper currents truly at play.